So today is we're going to be covering the INCU2 Incubator Radiant Warmer Analyzer. We have a couple panelists with us today. We have Mick Daly. He's our Fluke Biomedical Sales Representative from Intermountain Medical. And we have Jerry Zion. He's our Fluke Biomedical Global Training Manager. So they'll be helping us out with any questions you might have on this product. And But before we get into the Q&A, I have a short video that I'd like to share, and we'll go ahead and play that video and get into a Q&A.
Your smallest patients can be your most vulnerable, which is why it's essential you regularly test the performance and safety of your facility's neonatal incubators and radiant warmers. Fluke Biomedical would like to introduce you to the INCU2 Infant Incubator and Radiant Warmer Analyzer. The INCU2 is the only all-in-one portable and easy-to-use analyzer that complies with IEC 60601-2-19, 2-20, and 2-21 standards. You'll quickly notice its size, just 3 pounds, including the sensors for testing incubators. The pucks for testing radiant warmers come in their own case and weigh less than 9 pounds to comply with standards. Nevertheless, the INCU2 is the most compact, portable, and easy-to-carry analyzer of its kind on the market today. The INCU2 can simultaneously measure relative humidity, airflow, sound, and temperature at 6 points, using 5 independently movable sensors and 1 K-type thermocouple for skin temperature. The INCU2's color-coded temperature probes match the respective ports. Sound, airflow, and humidity probes plug in the back. The placement pad helps ensure the accurate placement of the probes for more accurate measurements. You'll appreciate its large LCD screen and a user interface that's intuitive with built-in standard and customizable test templates that maximize your testing efficiency. The INCU2 has onboard automation and comes with a mini Answer software plugin. To start, place the INCU2 in the incubator or radiant warmer you're testing. In this scenario, we're going to test an incubator. Remove and set up the temperature tripods and sensors. Position them in the middle of each quadrant of the mattress. When you first turn on the INCU2, it will do a self-check. When it's ready to test, the main menu will appear. Select a test environment. Choose a general test or view saved tests. For example, if you're going to run an incubator test, highlight Incubator from the Test Environment option using the navigational arrow keys and then press Select. You can also choose the General Testing option, which allows the user to log data without testing to a specific standard. But in this example, we're going to test to a standard. Let's choose the IEC standard we want to test against. Follow the on-screen directions, then press Test. The INCU2 displays test results in real time. At the end of a test, either pass or fail indicators will be displayed. The Setup button allows you to change your measurement units, view the details of the device, and select your sampling rate. The Back button allows you to go back to the previous screen. Along with using the standard tests, you can create your own testing groups or unique testing procedures, which can further increase efficiency and tailor testing to your facility's protocols. After running a test, be sure to save the results. The results will be saved to the device and its onboard memory. It can then be uploaded to your computer wirelessly or by using a USB cable. Ask your sales representative for more information about wireless capability in your country. To test radiant warmers, simply replace the temperature probes with the radiant pucks. Position them around the warmer according to the standard. Select the appropriate test and testing environment. We've designed the INCU2 to not only be highly portable and easy to use, but give our customers a best-in-class all-in-one solution. The INCU2 is compliant with all global IEC standards for radiant warmers, incubators, and transport incubators. Learn more about the INCU2 by visiting flukebiomedical.com.
Perfect. Well, great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that and learned a little bit from for the INCU2. Before we get into the Q&A, I'd like to get a get a poll from the audience here and to get a feeling for how. So we're going to go ahead and open the poll, and I'm going to give you about a minute to answer this, so we could see how you guys are testing infant incubators and or radiant warmers. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the poll. So interesting. Jerry and Mick, do you guys want to talk to this a little bit? We have about 50% using radiant warmer analyzers, 29 individual test instruments, and 21 not testing at all.
Well, first of all, I think this is refreshing because when we first introduced the original INCU, the number of people using multiple individual test instruments as a percentage of all respondents was much higher, as was the I'm not testing incubators or radiant warmers at all. That was also higher. So to see that we have 50% of the respondents to this poll indicating that they are using some sort of infant incubator radiant warmer analyzer to perform their testing is really good, and it means that you're getting reliable data that we can that can be used. And the past data, that's good and that's all important, but it's the failure rates that you want to track, and those become your corrective action work assignments to go troubleshoot that and find out what was the cause of the failure, whatever the failure was. So I'm very happy to see this. Would I like to see the the percentage of people actually testing and using an analyzer higher? Oh yeah, I absolutely would. So hopefully we can just do a little in our Q&A today. We can tease up some reasons why it's the efficiency and effectiveness of the testing with an analyzer is much better than not testing at all, or certainly using multiple individual test instruments.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, wow, I kind of remember when we introduced the INCU1 to the US market, and there was 0% using incubator analyzers. And so I'm with Jerry. I'm really happy to see that we have half of the respondents using one. And I also know that everybody that's on the call is in the various hospitals are testing their radiant warmers and incubators in a way that's probably certainly in accordance with what they want to do. I would, I guess the beauty of our incubator analyzer is the fact that it is an all-in-one answer. Once you get it in your hands, it's so easy to use and set up. It's hard not to want to have one because it really is a productivity device, and it allows you to test to the standards. And that's how the manufacturers really want people to test. And if you follow most of the manufacturer guidelines, they are also having people test to the standards as well. And so people have to get very creative with their individual test devices that they're using to test their incubators and radiant warmers. This, you don't have to do that. It's all there, and you just open it, set it up, takes a few seconds, and you're ready to go.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Well, with that, let's jump into the Q&A. And like I said before, if you have any questions, use that questions option within the GoToWebinar platform to submit to us, and we will we'll address your questions for you. We do have a couple that have come in, and I'm going to go ahead and kick things off.
Good.
So the first one that came in was, why should you test multiple test points when testing temperature?
You want to handle that, Mick, or you want me to?
You know, I think you know standards better than probably anybody in the country. I will tell you that Jerry does.
Right.
I'll vouch for him. You know, it's the way you have to do it. Just read the standards. There isn't really any other way around it. You have to test to 5 separate points. At least that's the way I read it. You know, I guess I don't want to get into any arguments, but the way I read it is you have to do it. And most people actually that I've talked to actually are, but you know, it's very, what do I want to say? I don't want to use the word monotonous, but certainly very manual to have to go and test at 5 separate points. You can do that, but with this device, you set it up and you can test 5 points simultaneously. Wow, what a great revelation and time saver that is.
Yeah. Well, in fact, all of the parameters, but in particular temperature inside the chamber of an infant incubator, the temperature is not really ever uniform within the entire space of the chamber. And the standards are written in a particular way because the people who are on the standards committees that create these minimum performance and safety standards for the world are really great engineers, and they really know a lot. We're talking about the laws of thermodynamics and physics, and what it turns out is that there's a certain level above the mattress and points around it. So there's a space at a particular level above the mattress that is the place where the temperature needs to be uniform and in control. And that's because that's where the core of the baby, the infant, the neonate that's going to be occupying that incubator is going to be. So having the proper height level already figured out, having, as Mick said, the ability to collect kind of in a data log all of the parameters on the same time base really helps. It's not just a test here or a test there. It's across the time that we're trying to assess the performance of this incubator. The rise time till we get stable temperature, the stable temperature control, that's called STC in the standard, so that we're sure that not only does it reach the right temperature, doesn't overshoot too much, but that it stays stable, relatively stable between the band of control of the temperature. And certainly it's even more important when you're in servo, where the infant temperature measured by a skin temperature thermistor or a rectal temperature thermistor is what's controlling that servo temperature mechanism. So it's really important to test all those 5 points at the center of each quadrant of the mattress and at the center of the mattress at a particular height above the mattress. It makes really good sense when you think about it in terms of how the airflow and the temperature is kept stable within the chamber. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have another one here. What is the difference between the temperature probes and the temperature pucks?
Mick, I'll let you go first if you want.
Well, you know, the pucks are actually weighted to a certain weight, and they're for the radiant warmers, and it makes it for a really cool setup. Because I've seen people, again, get very creative with their test jigs, and most everybody has radiant warmers, every hospital, even ones that don't have a NICU. So they need to test them, and it's always a pain in the neck when they open up and try to test them to standards, and they start looking at weights and quadrants and things like that. Again, easy setup, wham, you know, and you're done. One of the easier things to test is radiant warmers with our INCU2.
So there's a real reason for the pucks. Um, the puck is designed specifically to the requirements from the standard, but let me explain it a little bit better day to day why. If you put a thermistor on the mattress of a radiant warmer and you get any kind of airflow that's happening or a cool breeze, if you've got an open window or something like that, even the HVAC, when the air fans kick on, that thermistor is making rather an instantaneous temperature measurement, and that airflow and the temperature, that airflow will cool the thermistor until the fan shuts off, and then it will let it come back up to wherever it was. The problem is you don't want that wavering, that changing temperature in your thermistor, because you can't properly evaluate the heating caused by the radiant lights above the infant at a particular level above the mattress if you have all this variation caused by, we'll call it artifact, okay? Airflow cooling artifact. So the pucks are designed with a thermal mass and as a black body to absorb that temperature radiated down from the radiant lights so that you get a stable temperature at each of the 5 measurement points, so you can actually do a proper job of assessing the performance and functionality of that radiant warmer. And once again, there's a servo control for the radiant lights that is triggered by controlled by the infant skin temperature sensor, or if the rectal temperature is being used, the rectal temperature, once again, to keep the core temperature of the baby stable. Babies, neonates, don't have a really good thermal regulating mechanism in their physiology yet. It hasn't developed, and their body mass is not really big, so they cool off really, really fast. So it's really important to make sure that we have assessed the proper heating and functionality of the radiant lights and the servo control of those lights. So those are some of the reasons why there's differences between the thermistors that you use inside the chamber of an infant incubator, where it's all closed in. Yes, you do have airflow, but it's an equilibrated temperature airflow, so it's more stable, as opposed to the open to air and environment situation you have in the radiant warmer.
Great, thank you, Jerry and Mick. Well, we have kind of a quiet group here. We've only gotten a couple questions in, but I want to remind you, we have a lot of great resources on Fluke Biomedical. We have the Advantage Training Center that you could that has training on incubator testing and radiant warmers. And Jerry, if you want to talk about that a little bit, that's a great resource for you to learn more.
Yes, indeed it is. So we have a lot of different ways that you can learn. As you are trying to do your work, if you have questions, you can come back and visit it. But in the Advantage Training Center, there are academic style courses that are designed with lots of great information to help you understand the medical device quality assurance rationale, why we need to test a certain category of medical devices, and then the Intro to Using course series that tells you specifically medical device category and test instrument by test instrument. So you can go in there and earn certificates of completion. So those of you that are earning your CBET from AAMI ACI, you can actually, you're going to benefit from being able to use that certificate as objective physical evidence that you took training. And so that's all within the Advantage Training Center. So you can sign up for those for access to that. It's free. All of our training right now is free. The other opportunities are the video library, which is where we got the video that we showed you this morning, and also the webinars, especially the Empower webinar series, which actually gives you ACI credits, CEU credits for every webinar that you participate live in or that you view later after the fact. So anything that's recorded, if it's an Empower series webinar, you can earn a certificate of participation. Those are really, really good ways for you to learn about it. There's also application notes, frequently asked questions. All of that is there on our website for you, so that as long as you make use of them, there's no reason why you should be failing to be able to use test instruments effectively or understand why you're doing the testing you're doing. I'm looking forward to more questions from all of you. I know you have them, so
We
please.
have a couple more, Jerry. We do
Good,
have a couple, so we sparked some more.
good.
One question is about 1QA and the operability with our INCU2, and will it be supported by it? And Jerry, I know you could probably talk to this a little bit. We don't know the roadmap on the automation piece,
Right.
but 1QA can
So,
be.
yeah.
I'll let you take that one, Jerry.
All right. So the question here is, what's the difference between one QA and a test instrument's compatibility with one QA versus a test instrument's interoperability with one QA? So let me explain the difference. First of all, anything you use to measure or any physical inspection step that you're doing is compatible with 1QA. 1QA can handle any of it. Sometimes your response is going to be a little bit more manual, but it's always collected within the automated workflow. It can always be visually guided. So there shouldn't be any, in a properly created workflow with 1QA, you shouldn't have a question in your mind about where do I make my connection for this test I'm about to do? How do I make the connection? And so forth. That should all be right there in front of you so it's easy to follow. Even if you're affected by dyslexia or something where text is not your friend, visually guided workflows really, really help. So all of those things are great. When you have interoperability with your test instrument, by the way, not all things that you can make measurements with are able to be interoperable. If you have a ruler, if you have a set of calipers that you're going to make a measurement on strip chart recording paper, if you have a gapping tool that you need to use for spark gap adjustments, none of those have data ports. So 1QA is designed for you to be able to report and use. You got one workflow, no matter which kind of test instrument you have, an interoperable one or not. And so that's all what we've thought about and what we've learned over the years, from MedTester to Answer to now 1QA. Now let's talk about interoperability, specifically about INCU2. INCU2 presently is compatible, but not yet interoperable. And where it is on the roadmap, I don't even know yet, but we are building out this interoperability footprint just the same way as we did with Answer. So will there be interoperability? Yes, there will. I don't know exactly how that will work. And if you have opinions or ideas, please send them through to us. You can either send them directly or you can send them through Mick Daly, who is your sales rep in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Alaska. So feel free. We want to hear from you because it's really important to us as we create the interoperability that it makes sense to how you do your work and that makes your work more efficient and effective. So interoperability means this. It means that the software test that the test in the software that you're about to run automatically configures the test instrument that's interoperable to run the test and automatically collects the information from that test instrument unless it's a patient simulator, in which case we're configuring the simulator to send a specific group of signals, patient parameters, to the patient monitor, in which case we're going to have to still, for the moment, visually enter the information we see displayed on the screen. So we compare what we sent to what we see. If they equal within the test limits, everything's good. So that's what I mean by interoperability. And it does save time and it does shorten learning curves. So if you're trying to learn a new test instruments, or if you're new to not only biomed as a student, or you're new to biomed coming from some other industry, you're not going to get lost, because not only in our training, but in our workflow automation, we make it possible for you to be efficient and effective. And we get, at the end of the day, a test report and set of test results that are statistically significant, because what we're looking for is in the database, in the CMMS, is to have the ability to trend and track failure rate, okay? And that's what we're really looking for. And why is that? Because it helps us save money, it helps us save time, and it helps us understand whether we've got medical devices in our inventory in the hospital that are high failure rate, hard to use, things like that. We can replace them with things that are better and easier for the clinicians to use. The easier for the clinician to use, the more uptime the medical device has, the higher the confidence of the clinician, and the higher the confidence in the clinician and the work that you do, the higher the respect for you, and the better the satisfaction for the patient if you're the patient. Okay, so
Perfect.
workflow
Thank you.
automation is what we really want out of it.
Exactly. Perfect. We have time for one more question here. We're pretty much out of time, but I do want to get to this one. I believe it's more about the automation built into the INCU2.
Mm-hmm.
Do the test groups that I create complete automatically?
If you are customizing the tests that can be done in the standards compliant auto sequence, then yes, they report pass fail automatically. They're drawing that pass fail from the test limits from the standard on infant incubators, transport incubators, and radiant warmers. Each has a separate standard. If you use the general test, there are no test limits, and it's up to you to evaluate after some period of time whether you have pass or fail results showing on the test instrument. So there's three ways that you can operate it. You can operate in INCU2 from the auto sequence that's built in, standards compliant. That may take longer than you want or that you have time for, but it's a really great test because it complies to the standard. Or you can customize that. You can pick and choose from those standards-based tests. And when you select them, they become your onboard workflow, and they come with the assessment against the standards. And then of course the general test, where whatever you connect to the INCU2 is what's going to be measured over the same time base. So you can see what changes over certain periods of time and different conditions within the incubator or on the radiant warmer table.
Perfect. Thank you, Jerry. And thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Mick, for helping us out with this one today. Again, this is, if we didn't get to your questions, please email them to us, and we'll definitely get back with you with some answers. And
any customers out there that want to look at it in person, get a hold of your local sales rep. It's a wonderful device. It allows you to test to the standards in a really efficient way. And one of our better all-in-one solutions in that, let's face it, in order to test an incubator, you got to have about, I would say 6 different devices, in your bag, and measurement things to measure off of the, you know, mattress a certain distance and all of that stuff is all taken care of. So if you want to take a look at it or get a quote, get a hold of your local sales rep. It's a wonderful device.
Perfect. Thank you, Mick.